The TV network Al Jazeera has bought a major foothold right here in the United States. It announced it purchased Al Gore's current TV, which is on the channel guide of 40 million homes right here in the United States. Gore and co-founder Joel Hyatt put out a statement saying, among other things, Al Jazeera has the same goals and, like Current, believes that facts and truth lead to a better understanding of the world around us. Let's discuss this with Brian Stelter, the New York Times media and TV correspondent. Also joining us, Howard Kurtz of CNN's Reliable Sources, who's the Washington bureau chief of Newsweek and the Daily Beast. Brian, you broke this story in the New York Times. So tell us, why does Al Jazeera want Current TV?
Al Jazeera has been trying and frankly failing for years to get on television here in the United States. It's been so much of an uphill battle. It's more like a cliff they're trying to climb up. And I think they eventually decided they had to buy their way in by buying Current TV.
Tell us about the timing of this deal, because you have an important and interesting nugget in your report.
For the days leading up to New Year's Eve, Al Gore and his partners were trying to get the deal done by midnight because, of course, higher tax rates were going into effect. As it turned out, the deal wasn't done until yesterday on January 2nd, but they were trying to avoid those higher tax rates.
What do you make of this, Howie? You study the media. You've been watching what's going on. Why does Al Jazeera, which is based in Doha, Qatar, really want to have a foothold on the American media market? They already have Al Jazeera in English as well as Al Jazeera in Arabic, which is very popular around the Arab world.
Well, first, Wolf, can I note the unusual nature, the essential weirdness of a former vice president of the United States selling his network to an Arab-based network that is owned by a foreign government. But leaving that aside, as Brian says, Al Jazeera English, which has actually won some praise in recent years for its international reporting, including, among others, from Hillary Clinton, wants to reach the big and lucrative American market. So it faces an uphill climb at this point for two reasons. One is, can it put the numbers on the board? Can it draw enough ratings that cable systems are going to want to keep it on? Time Warner Cable, the affiliated with the parent company of this network, has already said no. And secondly, can it deal with the image problem when it was battling the Bush administration during the war on terror that was left behind, where some people thought the network, the parent network, had an anti-American tilt? You quote the author, Brian, of a book entitled The Al Jazeera Effect. You have this in one of your reports. You say there are still people who will not watch it. We're talking about Al Jazeera, who will say that it's a terrorist network. How much of a problem will this be for the new owners of Current TV, whatever format they eventually decide to go with?
A lot of people don't even know this, but the only journalist ever detained at Guantanamo Bay was an Al Jazeera cameraman. This sort of disdain goes back a long time, and it's deeply rooted. But I do think it is subsiding. Al Jazeera will definitely still have an uphill battle trying to get people to tune in. I hear today that some of the distributors that are going to carry the channel are getting some hate mail from some viewers who still don't want to see it on their cable lineups. But money can change a lot of these kind of problems, and Al Jazeera has a lot of money. They can put a lot into marketing and promoting the channel and trying to change the image of it.
I know that Al Gore and Joel Hyatt, Howie, they tried to get Current TV, make it a major player. They had Keith Olbermann working there for a while. It hasn't exactly worked out the way they wanted. Why? It's been an extraordinarily low-rated channel, Wolf, because it didn't have a clear identity. It, even though it was co-founded by Gore, didn't do a lot of politics. Then it decided to do more politics. The $10 million deal with Keith Olbermann blew up in a contract dispute. Other hosts, Elliot Spitzer went there, haven't gotten much traction. And so, although it looks like Al Gore will make a substantial amount of money on this sale, from a critical point of view, and even from a point of view kind of influencing the national conversation, Current TV just never got it done. You think those shows are going to stay under the Al Jazeera ownership, Brian? The Elliot Spitzer show, the Jennifer Granholm show, the former governor of Michigan, a whole bunch of other shows?
No, I think Howie picked the best word for it. It's extraordinarily low ratings. It's kind of amazing to look at it. 40,000 viewers watching. There are local stations in Memphis and Houston and Toledo that get higher ratings than that. I don't think the shows will stick around. I think some of the hosts might, possibly, but it's unlikely. I think for the most part, Al Jazeera is buying this for the real estate, because it's beachfront real estate. but not for the house, not for anything around it.
Yeah, but you know
a lot
what?
will depend.
Howie, go ahead, make your point.
Just briefly going to say a lot will depend, Wolf, on how much appetite there is in the American market for international news. A lot of news organizations have cut back on that. They think Americans are mainly interested in what goes on here at home. And that, of course, is Al Jazeera's strength with correspondents around the world.
Al Gore and Joel Hyatt, Brian, they may have had money, but it's nothing compared to what the Emir of Qatar has. I've been to Doha, Qatar. I've been to Al Jazeera headquarters. They're getting ready to host the World Cup soccer games in Qatar. They've got a ton of money over there. If they want to start spending a lot of money, they could probably build Current into a major player.
I think that's right. I think in some ways we're entering a new golden age of international news coverage. Now, we don't know if anybody wants to watch that, but look at the players. The BBC in Britain. Russia has its own news channel. China is making inroads into the U.S. with a news channel. And here comes Qatar, now at the front of the pack because it has more homes than anybody else. They would all like to compete with each other and, frankly, with CNN and other U.S. cable news channels. But it's really unclear if anybody wants to watch those channels.
Well, we'll see what happens. You know what? You have a lot of money. You can buy a lot of personalities. You can do some stuff. And I know for a fact that the Emir, the leadership in Qatar, they want to be players not only in the Persian Gulf, where they are, not only in the Arab world, but internationally, including right here in the United States. These are very ambitious folks, so we'll see what they have to do. I'm just guessing, Howie, you're going to have much more on this story coming up Sunday on Reliable Sources. Is that right?
Your guess is correct, Wolf. Sunday morning, 11 Eastern.
11 a.m. Eastern. Brian, Howard, thanks very much. Some glimpses of history you haven't seen before. We're taking you inside the White House with just released official photographs of the Obama presidency. You're going to want to see these. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.